So I figured this year was going to be full. I mean, absolutely full of rumors. We have multiple systems launching at the end of this year that we know of, I should say, with the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. There could be Lockhart that we've heard about, an Xbox Series S, if you will, like a lower cost one. But for now, PS5, Xbox Series X, and we don't know if Nintendo is going to have something else as well. But because of that, and because we're pretty much into, I would say, the Switch's like probably best year coming up, because it's been out long enough to where you'd have third-party developers catching up, and you'd have Nintendo looking to put out some pretty serious games that may have been in development when the system launched. So games where, as we get towards the back half of a system's life, you start to see it really being taken advantage of by developers who have become more and more familiar with that hardware. So naturally, I figured we would get some pretty crazy rumors, and we'll talk a little bit about some rumors around games for the Switch and what we assume to be a Nintendo Direct that is probably right around the corner, I would say. And then a really funny one for the PlayStation 5. It's one that I struggle with right now, and I'll show you why that is. But just a couple of rumors. This is Rumor Wave. Like as I take everything with a, as people would say, quote unquote, grain of salt, and more for entertainment, but it is something to think about, and it is an interesting conversation and some points of conversation that can be had here. So we'll start with the Nintendo Switch and what we believe to be a Direct around the corner. Now, we, of course, are going around taking guesses at different games that could be showing up, and now we're starting to see some people put out some rumors. So the first thing we'll really get into here is the idea of Paper Mario, and this is the one that's rough, because if this gets put out there as it has now and it turns out to not be true and not be correct, that is going to annoy that fan base pretty badly. Paper Mario has had, we'll say, a bit of a downturn, I guess. We had Color Splash, and of course we had on the 3DS, Sticker Star. Those did not impress very well, right? Like, if you look even at Metacritic, the entire series has been on a decline since the first game. If you just look at it, seriously, it's tracking downward pretty consistently, even though I think the GameCube game, Thousand Year Door, is the best game in the series, and you can go play that now, and it still holds up fine, right? Especially if you have like the an HDMI adapter and everything for the GameCube, and it supports progressive scan, all that. It looks good still, and it holds up. So where are these rumors coming from? Well, I'm going to show you here. This is on Nintendo Enthusiast. They point out Sabi, and we're going to talk about the sources of these rumors. But Sabi says they find it reliable enough to complete back the mentions of Paper Mario and Metroid, not Metroid Prime 4, by the way, which that's another one we're going to go over here in a second. For 2020, Paper Mario going back to how it was in 2020, and then a 2D Metroid game does in fact seem to be related to Fusion. Also sounds as though it's set for this year. So a 2D Metroid game has been rumored for a while now, and I'm not even talking about like Samus Returns, just like a 2D Metroid game for the Switch. It's been rumored for, I want to say, at least 2 years now. I remember talking about it with I think we've talked about it on the podcast since like the beginning of 2018. So it's been a while that this rumor's been floating around, and it could just be that it's been in development for like this long. Like, it's just been being worked on for a while, and that's exciting, because I do think Nintendo is starting to look more and more at Metroid as a, I don't want to say like they're like one of their really big franchises like a Zelda or a Mario, but I think it is climbing kind of in Nintendo's view. So yes, they could do something like a 2D Metroid. They could do the Metroid Prime Trilogy HD, of course, and then they can do Metroid Prime 4 to cap off this generation. I think that'd be really cool to have basically a new Metroid game or a new Metroid title, or SKU, you could say, because the Prime Trilogy would be multiple titles, almost every year, or every or maybe 3 games in the span of 2 years. That would be pretty awesome for Metroid fans. And out of everything here in this video, the 2D Metroid game is the one that I'm probably the most on board with, the most confident in. So Metroid fans, sure, you can get excited about that. There you go. The one that I'm unsure of, though, is Paper Mario. that is concerning, because if it's, like I said, if it's not correct, it is going to annoy some people. Now, I will give credit here to where I believe the first mention of this was from Sabi. Tweeted this out for me at 9:43 p.m. But over on Reset Era, I was alerted that Zippo at 8:41 p.m. had actually said, I'm not big on being vague, so I'll be super transparent here. I was told Paper Mario is coming this year and is a return to form. No idea when it's being announced. Not a remake, though. Okay, so we're not looking at a remake for Paper Mario. It would just be a straight up new Paper Mario game that would go back to form, which that would mean a traditional turn-based RPG with actual character progression that, like, you control, not ones that are done automatically like we saw on the Wii, and not, I guess, like Color Splash, where there is really no need to do any of the random battles. That would be really, really cool. Something like a 1,000-year door, I think, would excite Paper Mario fans. But I'm going to say this again. This is a rumor, all right? So be careful getting too hyped, because I know how the Paper Mario fan base is. They really want something like this. They love the idea of going back to more traditional Paper Mario, and they want to see Nintendo really push for a new title in the franchise. So I be careful here, but I wouldn't be shocked, okay, if we saw a new Paper Mario game possibly in this upcoming Direct that we all believe is going to happen either at the end of January or the beginning of February to set up the rest of this year. 2020, though, could be pretty awesome. I mean, a Paper Mario game, a 2D Metroid, possibly Metroid Prime Trilogy HD, and then Breath of the Wild 2 to cap things off with Bayonetta 3. It starts to pile up pretty quickly, and then we didn't even mention Animal Crossing that's out in a couple months. Next, we're going to move over to the PlayStation 5 that has had obscene amounts of rumors getting kicked around. And the reason for that, I think right now, is one, whenever new consoles launch, there are always just rumors everywhere, right? Especially ahead of the reveal, because you can do all kinds of stuff online to mess with people, troll people. It happens all the time. I mean, how many times do we hear about the NX being all kinds of craziness, right? So it's not surprising to see things like the PlayStation 5 model apparently get leaked out online, and it looks absolutely ridiculous. So much so that I struggle believing this at all. But so many people tweeted me and messaged me about this looking for an opinion on it. So I thought I would go over it, give you my opinion, and then hopefully move on from what I believe to be a solid troll or fake here. Okay, so This has been reported by a lot of different places. This is Notebook Check, for example, that even talked about it. And the part that gets me is that this was reported, kind of sent around on the internet, and ended up coming back to it being on 4chan, of course, which is an anonymous message board. So this apparently is the PlayStation 5 concept images or patent images. Of course, if you do a patent, you have to show what you're doing a patent for, and a lot of times you'll give them drawings. It doesn't necessarily need to be a picture of the actual system. It can just be concept art, basically, of it, right, with dimensions and all of that. So this is apparently the alleged PlayStation 5 consumer model designs. And what the funniest part about this is, there is apparently a real-world picture of this. So this is this is what's being passed around right now. First thing I want to comment on: every time we see a picture of something like this, it looks like it's taken by a potato, right? We did have at least eventually a clear image of a PlayStation 5 development kit, and that ended up being correct. And that was actually pretty clear. Remember, we had two of them. We got to the point where you could zoom in and you could read IP addresses and stuff. That was actually pretty clear. If you have a chance to take a picture of the PlayStation 5 as it would appear to consumers, even if it's the model they're going to walk out on stage, wouldn't you get a solid picture of it? That's what always throws me off about these leaks. So the image here shows allegedly the design for the PlayStation 5, and I struggle with this one badly, because it does not look like, to me anyway, something Sony would create, because it doesn't look what do you want to say, sleek, I guess, although the PlayStation 3 looked kind of like a George Foreman grill, so okay, I guess. But what's really interesting about this is, if you look at it from the side, it kind of looks like an X, doesn't it? Like, it looks like, when I look at it, I see an X almost. And when it's on its side, according to this, it looks hideous. I mean, this looks bad. I can't imagine this is the actual design. And the other thing that really strikes me as weird is I don't see any real cooling benefit from this design here. Now, remember, the Series X, that Phil Spencer himself said that they designed that specifically so that it could house the components they needed to make it 12 teraflops. I almost feel like Sony will be forced to do something similar if they want to get close to or match the power of the Series X, and I don't see this design as helping them do that. I don't know why this would be the design they would go with. It's possible, sure, but this to me looks like someone just spent some time trying to create a better than average, I'll say, fake of the PlayStation 5. This could have been just 3D printed, slapped together a couple of, I mean, look, they would need two pieces, right? This piece, and they slap it together and then take a really bad picture of the system. I mean, nowadays everyone walks around with literal like digital cameras in their pockets with their phones, and this is what you come up with. It's hard for me to believe whenever I see that. At least get a really clear image from like further away, so we have to zoom in to get to this potato looking state, right? But let me know what you think about all these rumors here. I just wanted to throw them into a single video so I didn't have multiple rumor videos going out like all at once on Saturday. I just thought we'd compile them all together. The PS5 supposed leak that's been passed around. I mean, it topped N4G in several places with people talking about that shape and design for something that I don't think is correct anyway. And then, of course, a 2D Metroid, Paper Mario in 2020 with a lot of other games that are probably going to be announced by Nintendo. It really looks like 2020 could be a massive year for Nintendo, even alongside the PS5 and the Series X launching. We'll be mostly talking about games with Nintendo, whereas on the other side, we'll be talking about a lot of hardware, and generally games are what makes a system. So interesting stuff there. 2020, I think, is going to be a very, very exciting time. But let me know what you guys think about this one down below. Make sure you like the video on the way out if you enjoyed it. Dislike it if not, guys, and I'll see you next time.